You are about to hear 3 mini listening lessons for intermediate level high school English language learners, presented by Beth Siegel, Chai-Wei Yang, and Mieka Strawhorn. Listening is an important skill to practice. According to Celsa, Murcia, and Olsztyn, we listen to twice as much language as we speak, 4 times as much as we read, and 5 times as much as we write. Discourse strategies for listening use both bottom-up and top-down processes. Bottom-up processing interprets the small units first, then proceeds upward, and uses linguistic features such as word order and grammar inflections. Some strategies for teaching it involve phonology, vocabulary, reductions, grammar, and prosody. Top-down processing interprets high-level units first, then proceeds downward. It is used for processing discourse using context. Some strategies for teaching it include schematics, pragmatics, and metacognition. Top-down skills correlate with many of Brown's macro-skill discourse strategies. To recognize the communicative functions of utterances, to infer situations, participants, and goals using real-world knowledge, from events and ideas to predict outcomes, infer links, and to detect main and supporting ideas, to distinguish between literal and implied meanings, to use body language and nonverbal clues, and to develop the use of a battery of listening strategies. All 3 of our lessons make use of video to teach listening. Integrating technology for listening keeps high school students engaged, allows the teacher an opportunity to replay or pause as needed, and brings a variety of speakers with different voices, accents, and inflections in the classroom. Lesson 1 by Beth Siegel. This lesson uses video from the news with commercials for authentic listening. The rationale for the lesson is to bring relevant, real English that students struggle with into class. To use a varied selection of information to satisfy student interest. To use short-length discourses by way of video clips to keep learning frustration low. The objectives are to develop and use metacognitive strategies for listening to discourse, to find and apply context visuals to aid in listening, to practice the top-down strategy of applying background knowledge, to practice the top-down strategy of getting the main idea and then filling in the details, and to use graphic organizers for a bottom-up strategy with vocabulary and a top-down strategy of note-taking for details and main ideas. For the lesson, the materials needed will be a computer with a projector and video clips of a weather forecast and/or news stories with commercials. For step 1, I start by giving instructions. I'll say we are going to watch some video clips from the news. We will strategize on how to listen and remember, watch video clips and take notes, and share notes and ideas in discussions. 3 different types of video clips will be outlined for this lesson. They can be used together for more advanced learners or separately. For step 2, the students preview a clip to figure out learning strategies. I play a video of a weather forecast. I elicit student responses on what could help them understand and remember the video. Students come up with using notes and using visuals. For step 3, the students prepare their materials for note-taking and understanding. I have students make a graphic organizer with a list of the days of the week. I then teach that knowing words that may be used in a situation in advance could help understanding. I ask students for weather vocabulary and put a list on the board. We then figure out or look up the definitions. The weather report clip is the easiest of the videos because it includes a graphic organizer in the clip. For step 4, the students listen to the clip, they take notes, and then discuss what they have heard. More beginning students will just get the main idea, while advanced students will get details. This step can be repeated as much as needed. Students can use similar strategies for news stories. They pick a story, make predictions of what it is about, and connect background knowledge before watching it. Graphic organizers can help students organize main ideas and subpoints. Students can also use similar strategies for commercial video clips. Commercials are ideal for teaching listening because they are short, they often represent real-life scenarios, and they can be used to teach humor or persuasion. For homework, students can be asked to listen to a weather forecast, news story, or commercial at home and report back to the class what they have listened to.
Listen Up! A Lesson in Listening for High School English Language Learners by Mieka Strawhorn. Accurate listening comprehension is crucial for English language learners, especially for those who are planning to attend college in the United States. Aside from the day-to-day challenges of following instructions, socializing with peers, and communicating effectively with teachers and administration, students must also learn to follow and understand academic lectures, which often pose an increased challenge to English language learners. According to Celsa, Mercia, and Olstein, quote, "Listening is the most frequently used language skill in everyday life," unquote. And most of what we listen to will be authentic, unscripted speech. However, authentic speech can pose serious challenges to comprehension. According to Huang, Chinese students may experience special difficulties in comprehending English since Chinese and English are non-cognate languages and therefore very different. Listening tasks can be daunting, but there are steps teachers can take to make the activity relevant and meaningful. Celsa, Mercier, and Olstein call this strategy-based L2 listening. Before I present my lesson, here's some basic information about my students with whom I did this lesson with recently. My students are all Chinese, they are college-bound, and they attend a Catholic private high school in Oakland, California. The class has a mixed level of proficiency with some students being at high intermediate and some at low intermediate. All of my students have expressed difficulty in following academic lectures in school, and we have 8 international students at my school, and we meet twice a week. This listening lesson focuses on top-down strategies using authentic materials with the purpose of listening for content, following a narrative, and relating information to students' personal experiences. Students are given a handout with information about the context of the video and background information on some of the content. Students were often also given a list of questions to answer during and after listening. Students were advised to take notes during the listening. I stopped the video after the speaker's initial setup of her story and asked students to make predictions about what they thought the story would be about and what they thought the speaker's point of view might be. After listening to the entire story, we discussed the students' answers to the questions on the handout, and students discussed their overall reaction to the story. In an effort to provide relevant material for my students, here's a list of criteria I used when choosing the clip of audio that I did. The first step in the lesson is providing background information. Since I'd listened to the clip a number of times before choosing it, I was able to hunt out any areas of knowledge that my students may have been lacking. I also listened for examples of information that I thought my students would have knowledge of. One student had owned the video game mentioned in the story and was able to describe it to the class. All of my students were aware of Mao's Little Red Book and shared some of their knowledge with me. For step 2, I provided my students with a list of activity questions to complete while listening. Students were given the opportunity to review these before the listening began, and they were asked to pay special attention when they heard something related to one of the questions on the sheet. I played the first 43 seconds of the clip and stopped the video so students have time to make predictions. You can hear the introduction by clicking the play on the embedded audio clip here. I then rewound the clip back to the beginning and played it through while students listened and took notes. After the students finished listening to the story, we went over their answers to the activity questions. For the most part, the students were able to answer all the questions without too much trouble. The goals for the lesson were met. The students implemented multiple listening strategies, were very successful in their ability to recall specific information, decode vocabulary and context, and make convincing inferences. I let the students' answers guide our wrap-up conversation, and we ended up having a lively discussion about parental pressure, the generation gap, and the benefits of reading for pleasure. Thank you so much.
Hi, welcome to part 3. I'm going to show you a mini listening lesson. Listening lesson by song. Practicing listening in class can be a drag to students. Feeling out the missing words, making corrections, while listening over and over again is not going to make a class fun. Why not try something different? Songs provides a great teaching materials for students to easily remember the vocabulary and learn different tenses. It's entertaining and fun. I'm going to focus on the top-down processing. The purpose is to activate prior knowledge and transfer L1 listening skill into English listening. My target students are high school ESL students. The benefits is for students easily grasp the ideas, increase listening ability, and easily memorize the vocabulary. What can you do with a song? There are 3 steps. Number 1, pre-listening. Pre-listening is more like brainstorming. We help students to think about a topic, make connection with prior knowledge. Step 2, while listening. While listening is more like working out. We help students to listen to a song several times, and we put students into a discussion group. Clear the confusions, bring feedbacks. It's much more like a discussion. Last is post-listening. Post-listening is after listening to a song several times, students can start to work on the worksheet, complete the gaps with the words that are missing, and teacher can work on the evaluation. It's the best to use videos to show students why and what's in the song. Here's the song worksheet, Talking to the Moon by Bruno Mars. It shows how to import a vocabulary and verbs with a song. Part of any EFL program.
In our presentation, we've designed lessons that facilitate high school English language learners to implement a variety of both top-down and bottom-up listening strategies. We've employed a range of authentic listening materials and supplied students with relevant activities to sustain engagement. The framework for these lessons can be used to create any number of listening activities. Thank you for watching.